Joining me now is Dr. Andrew von Eschenbach, who has a resume that would take up our entire interview time here. But Andy, welcome, and thanks for helping us out today.
You're very kind, Max, and it's wonderful to be with you, especially at this important conference.
So let's talk about the conference for a second here, is that as all of these meetings that we all attend tend to be focused on a particular specialty, even a particular organ, that sort of a thing. This Vatican conference is very different, as you know. What do you think is the value of bringing all these different worlds together?
Well, I think it's incredibly important, especially at this point in time. I mean, first of all, we've seen these amazing transformations in science and technology that are giving us not only insights into the process of life, but the ability to actually control and change life. Look at the way we've been able to respond to this pandemic by sequencing the genes of a virus and then immediately knowing how to directly attack it. So because we have such great power now to understand life and to manipulate life, we really desperately need to put that into a moral, ethical context so that it's benefiting society and not just simply progress for the sake of progress, but progress to transform lives in a proper way. This conference gives us the ability to step back and to frame this progress in science and technology in that moral, ethical context.
So you mentioned the pandemic, and there has been this unprecedented collaboration between public and private sectors, being able to come up with a vaccine in a remarkably short period of time. We also now know about some survivors, if you will, or people who have recovered from COVID-19, become long haulers. Is there a similar kind of collaboration that might help figure out what's going on and then how to treat these long COVID sufferers?
Yeah. Well, to your point, crisis has made competitors now collaborators because we realize that we all have this common enemy, this disease that's affecting everyone throughout the world, irregardless of race, color, creed, or whatever. So we've come together to be able to solve this problem for humanity. The issue with this virus, as you point out, is not only has it been incredibly dangerous as a pandemic, but the virus itself seems to be attacking us in very strange and different ways. It not only is a respiratory virus, but it's attacking the lining of blood vessels and seemingly our nerves and other organs in our body. And even when it's a mild disease, or even when patients are very young and don't die from the disease, there, in 10 to 30% of cases, there are these ongoing problems that are plaguing us months and many months after getting over the infection. So just like we came together to fight the virus, now we have to come together to fight the consequences of the virus.
Andy, when you were the head of the FDA, you were right in the middle of having to walk that tightrope or line between speed of getting something approved and out there to people and making sure that it was safe and efficacious, right? So that seems to have accelerated tremendously during this pandemic. Are there lessons that we can take from this past year that we might be able to apply to other pharmaceuticals, therapies, and so forth going forward, particularly cardiovascular, cancer, and so forth?
Right. Absolutely, Max. I think one of the most important lessons we've learned is rapid does not mean reckless. We can actually be able to move very rapidly from our understanding of a disease and the mechanism of interventions for those disease to the point where we can bring those solutions to people in their communities. We can do that with efficiency. We can do that with cooperation and collaboration. And we can do that with making use of all the tools that are now available to us. And I don't mean just scientific tools. Most importantly, the tools of information technology. You and I can go to our bank and we can stick a card in a machine, and the bank knows everything about us and can give us the appropriate amount of money. That kind of technology is transforming medicine as well. So we're seeing the community come together to share data, to be able to communicate the experience that they're gathering as they're caring for patients, pooling that information, rapidly giving insights into how we could do it better. And that's informing regulatory decisions as well. So the regulators can understand what's happening to these products as they're being developed, and doing that in parallel processing, not sequential processing that takes so much longer. So it's been a crisis that's helped transform the way we are cooperating with each other to be much more effective. And we should continue that even after this crisis is over.
So those are the positive lessons that we can take away from that. Is there anything that you have observed over this past year that, let's not call it a mistake, but things that we might be able to tweak and do better?
Well, I certainly think that the thing we need to do better is greater coordination, and that requires leadership. It requires being able to orchestrate the symphony, if you will. I'll use that analogy. We need that kind of organizational leadership that helps the pieces and the parts understand how they can fit together. There's no question about the will. The will and the talent and the need is all there. We are blessed with unbelievable infrastructure when we think about our medical and scientific community, but helping to coordinate that, helping to be able to create the mechanisms where people can share experience in a very easy and rapid way, I think is what's perhaps the lesson for the future, the importance of leadership that can guide and coordinate the overarching effort.
And is a piece of that perhaps being able to build confidence and trust in the science and these therapies? That's been an issue, of course, with the vaccines, but it may become an issue with any number of different therapies out there, no?
Well, I think that the issue there is, of course, transparency and communication. I mean, if people are aware and understand, then that helps to build trust. You and I are physicians, and we know when we have a patient come in to see us, the most important thing they need to know is are their interests our interest? Are we there to serve them, or are we there to serve some other purpose? And if we can communicate properly that they are the most important thing and everything we're doing is for them and for their good, then they understand and begin to trust and put their lives in our hands. I think that same kind of paradigm exists for governments. If our citizens know that what the governments are doing, what the agencies like NIH and FDA and CDC are doing is only because of them and to serve their best interest, and we communicate to them how we are going about doing that, then they believe and then they trust because they know they are the end and not the means to some other agenda. I think that's the lesson for leadership.
Trust and transparency go hand in hand. Dr. Andrew von Eschenbach, thank you so much for sharing your insight here, and we hope to keep hearing from you in the future. Thank you, Andy.
It's always a privilege to be with you, Max. Thank you.